It is what he spoke. It is a promise he made to the people of the Republic of Kenya. We must hold him to account. And if anything has changed, he must come out and explain to us very, very clearly what changed. Because he did not make that pronouncement out of stupidity. All of them are dealers and willers. All of them. They are dealing and willing.
You cannot say all of them, though.
A majority of them. A majority of them are wheeler dealers. So that secret account, this is money used to bribe, that is being dished out to bribe our members of parliament to pass bills that are not favorable to this country. How much is Ruto being allocated? I think I must tell him very categorically the time will come, and it's already coming. They're also saying, you know what? If you show us your middle finger, we will actually put it where it belongs. What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? This is not his personal house, this is not so going. I think the president needs to stop being simplistic.
Is there a vacuum post Raila?
Play one clip where Ruto has spoken truthfully.
A very good day to you and welcome to Philip Kisia Unscripted. My name is Jadiel Kabiro. It's always a joy, it's always an honor, it's always a privilege to have you joining us here for conversations we hope will help in building this country both politically and when it comes to making policies. My conversation today is about finance bill. Treasury has unveiled a series of tax proposals for the 2024-25 financial year, which has elicited a lot of concerns from Kenyans. This will be my conversation with Kisia about this finance bill. What does it mean for us, for you, as a taxpayer? Philip Kisia, thanks for making time for me. Once again, Kisia is a leadership and governance expert, former Nairobi town clerk, also former CEO of KICC. Kisia Mashati, how are you doing? Guys are saying you're Kisia Mashati.
Jed, are you suggesting that I walk without a trouser? I'm okay.
What when we notice your shirts, or they were asking about your tailor. Every single week you come here with great designs. Yeah. This week has been crazy, from Parliament, which we'll talk about maybe tomorrow, to finance. So you're looking at kids going back to school, some not able to go back because schools were swept away by the floods. But what are your highlights for this week?
Well, it has been a very interesting week with ups and downs. But, I mean, there are several things that caught my attention. There are these people who are living in their own world. And one of them, I think, is an MP for Molo. I think it's Kuria, Honorable Kuria, who dismissed Kenyans who are complaining. Said, if you cannot accommodate the new tax proposal of 2.5% on motor vehicle value, just park it at home and go and take a walk. This is a boy who is vomiting on our shoes, and I just hope that the people of Molo saw him and heard him, and that in 2027 they will teach him a lesson that he deserves. Okay. Like they say in Kiswahili, wamfunze adabu. Okay. The other one, of course, was again my very good friend. I think I spoke too early. I think at some point I actually was interviewed by my friend Biketi. Standard Group, and I at least appreciated the transformation that Rigathi has gone through. In terms of even demeanor, in terms of communication, in terms of delivery. Even now, he's dressing much better than I am. What a transformation! Then I wake up one morning, and then the guy is talking about if you can't afford bread, look for kangumu. So I didn't know what kangumu was. I had to speak, look for the definition from my Kikuyu friends. Some of them, of course, knew what kangumu was. I think kangumu is mandazi. Now, if you cannot afford bread, my friend Rigathi, how on earth can you afford mandazi? Because bread is, by any explanation, much cheaper than kangumu. But he's dismissing Kenyans. And then I remember the French Revolution, the flood revolution of 1775, where people, in the house up the hill, saw crowds surging towards State House. And they said, okay, they told the king. King wondered what was going on. I said, these guys don't have bread. And they said, if they don't have bread, man, give them cake. So Rigathi fell squarely in that type of a description, which is extremely unfortunate coming from somebody who I suspect came from a very poor background. At least I avoided jiggers. At least my mother ensured that I avoided jiggers. But it is sad to see some of people who came from a very, very humble background talking the way they are talking. And of course, finally, this week, and I watched the interview of the American ambassador to Kenya, Madam Whiteman, and she was not white. She was talking very, in my own interpretation, she didn't know. I mean, she's okay. She's a brilliant lady. But, diplomacy requires that you are very diplomatic in approach. You are measured in whatever you say. So I was shocked that she admitted, through her own admission, that she is part of the praise and worship team of State House.
Oh.
Yes. Just play back the interview between Jeff and herself. She confirmed that she's a part of that group, praise and worship. And then I asked myself, Americans have always been known to fight for democracy. This is a government that is being governed in a very dictatorial manner. This is a government that is full of looters and corrupt fellows. And yet we have an ambassador of a very respected country where democracy is valued, coming to tell us that he's a part of the praise and worship team. And then, of course, either she confirmed unknowingly, she told us that she is the chief marketing officer for the Kenya Kwanza government. So this is another person on our payroll that we didn't know.
Is she getting paid really?
I mean, she whether she's being paid, I don't know. But she confirmed that she's the chief marketing officer of the Kenya Kwanza government. She proudly announced that to the public. Whether she's being paid or not, I don't know. There's a secret account. That secret account in State House. Maybe, I don't know. You never know. You never know. With Kenya Kwanza.
Anything is possible.
Yes.
Let's get into this conversation for today about tax measures that have been put, bill proposing to introduce taxes even on bread, VAT on bread, alongside hikes on excise. Essential services like M-Pesa, airtime, cigarettes, even motor vehicle taxes among some of these proposals in this bill. But I want us to start by listening to what the president said during his campaigns about the measures that he will put into place, or his conversation about taxes here in Kenya.
Mimi nataka niwaeleze ya kwamba these people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Mkiona tumesimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia ya kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya mwananchi wa kawaida.
Now that is the president campaigning. This is what he told Harvard students when he was asked about taxes here in Kenya.
Data shows Kenya as of last year, our tax as a percentage of our revenues was 14%. My drive is to push Kenya. Possibly this year we will be at 16% from 14%. I want in my term, God willing, to leave it at between 20 and 22%. It's going to be difficult. I have a lot of explaining to do. People will complain, but I know finally they will appreciate that the money we go to borrow from the World Bank is savings of other countries.
Now, Philip, I want us to first gain some context about this thing to do with finances here in Kenya and taxes here in Kenya, because Kenyans are complaining, but the president on this other side says we are not getting taxed enough. We need to go to 22% before he leaves office. What do you think about this?
Now, Jed, first of all, even before I dive into the context, let's get back to history. Because history is supposed to be a good teacher. At least it teaches you what happened, and therefore you're supposed to learn from what happened. Or at least, avoid making mistakes that were made by our predecessors who are in leadership. In 1940 to 1945, we had Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And he said, you cannot tax a nation to prosperity. What he was basically saying is that tax is not the end game. You can't tax, overtax, and expect that you prosper. That was Winston Churchill in 1940. Okay? Then, just recently, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, former economist of World Bank, Peter Doyle, he was very categorical. He said that, you shouldn't make an attempt to come up with unrealistic revenue targets through heavy taxation just for the sake of pleasing IMF and World Bank. Because those measures can easily work for your downfall. It has happened in many countries in Africa because World Bank and IMF, as the president said, they don't give you free lunch. They give you money and they collect back that money through heavy interest. And therefore, my president, William Samoei Ruto, does not seem to appreciate those facts that have been presented by people who have been leadership before. But even then, as now that you brought up that issue, politicians are very interesting animals. I don't know them one. I don't know them in corporate. But at least even if I was a politician,
you are a politician.
Even if I was one, I think I'm one of the few who are upright and speak the truth. Now, these are the people I will respect. I will call, and I respect them. I have a lot of profound respect for most of them, because some of them I've interacted with them, I've worked with them very closely. Therefore, I have a lot of respect for these gentlemen. But unfortunately, I must use them to explain my point. And I'll call them the four musketeers. Some of them were with now President Ruto in Uhuru government, in the Uhuru government, but they were completely opposed to the tax policies and tax measures that Uhuru was trying to put in place. Some of them were in the opposition with Raila, and they're also completely opposed to the tax measures and policies that Uhuru Kenyatta was trying to put into place. I'll quickly look at what Ndindi Nyoro said on September 21st, 2021. He said many things, but he said he has written a letter to amend the VAT Act, Excise Duty Act, the Fuel Levy Fund Act, so that the prices are brought down. He wanted the prices brought down. And he said that the fuel products in Kenya must fall. That was Ndindi Nyoro himself, September 2021. Then my good friend, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, again on 17th April 2019, he was completely opposed to the new tax that was being proposed of 1.5% on the house tax. He said it is a disincentive, it is burdensome, and he talked about a population that was already overburdened with taxes. Okay? And he said, in fact, Kenya was one of the highest income tax in the world. Then we have Papa Waroma, my good friend Weta, who was also in opposition at that time. 9th September 2018, he talked of many things. He talked about that the government must rescind the tax on fuel, and the president should not assent to this bill, and even if it passed by parliament, because the MPs were imposing heavy taxation on people, on the population. And I quote, he said, we are going to take serious steps, including calling for civil disobedience. That was Papa Oroma. Finally, I have Kithure Kindiki, professor. Again, I don't know what they had in September. September 22nd, 2021. He talked about, the fuel cost having a heavy burden on the Kenyan population. And they said there's need again to look at a VAT, excise duty, adulteration of fuel, railway maintenance levy, and all manner of taxes, which have been imposed on fuel. We must bring this down. We must bring this down.
Yeah.
Those are four fine gentlemen who I'm now referring to the four musketeers who are now with President William Samoei Ruto. My question to them is, what has changed? What has since changed? Why have they changed tune? Why do they think now that Kenyans need to bear a heavy taxation? And is it that the economy is doing better than it was doing in 2021, 2019, so that you can impose more taxes? Because if the economy is doing well, there's GDP growth, you can tax people more, people don't feel it. But the economy is not doing well, our GDP growth is not as excellent. Why are they silent on this matter? I think these are people who are not genuine, they are not honest, they are not people you cannot trust, and Kenyans must look at them very, very carefully, going into the future. Now, allow me to comment very briefly on the video, the two videos. One, post-election, pre-election. Ruto was talking the language of the common man, that, we cannot allow Kenyans to be overtaxed and to carry heavy burdens in terms of taxation. And he made a promise. He signed a social contract. It is him who spoke. It is not his brother. It is not Philip Kisia who spoke. It is William Samoei Ruto who spoke and promised Kenyans that if elected, that if they gave him a chance to provide leadership for this country, he will make sure that the taxes come down. Now,
it's a social contract.
It is a social contract. It is what he spoke. It is a promise he made to the people of the Republic of Kenya. We must hold him to account. And if anything has changed, he must come out and explain to us very, very clearly what changed. Because he did not make that pronouncement out of stupidity. He made that a statement, which is a very serious statement, knowing very well the repercussion, the impact it has on people. Now, let me say this. Now, look at the statement he has made when meeting students from Harvard University. Okay? And he should have known he's addressing brilliant people. He said that Kenya, tax to revenue is about 14%, which is, I agree, is low by any standards. Because the international standards are between 18 and 24% of revenue. That's okay. So, yes, we accept it is low. But the question is, because when you're using that international benchmark, it is not on its own. It requires that people must be having money in their pockets, that corporations operating in your country must be doing well, that they must be making profits so that you can tax them. Okay? But if the economy is not doing well, the corporations are not doing well, everybody is just suffering, how can you even propose a higher tax? I've said before, 0% of 100 is zero. This is a man who does not understand what he's talking about. This is a man who went into a room, was fed with information, half-baked, and then he came and started addressing students of Harvard, which is very unfortunate. So some of us are not saying, Jed, that it is not a brilliant idea. It is a brilliant idea because tax should be, taxation and the percentage should be used as an efficacy for judging the performance of a tax collection, tax collection. Okay? It's okay. So we're not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but the measurement should be against what? Other factors, including GDP. We are not saying that it's a bad idea to increase our tax regime, but that should have a correlation with our economic growth. What we are saying is that there is no way we shall allow, as a people of Kenya, for this government to impose taxes that are hurting the people. You know, it is so foolish of this government to tax heavily, even on consumption. You know, in America, do you know that America, why it thrives even in terms of when the prices? Consumerism. It encourages people to consume. It makes sure that even during hard times, people have money in their pockets. Because when people have money in their pockets, they spend and you collect taxes. The government has no other source of making money, of collecting. They get money from the people. They get money from the economy. Now, therefore, when you come up with measures that ensure that there is no disposable income in the people's pockets, what are you going to tax? It's already a dead cow. You cannot milk a dead cow.
Then what is the impact?
Now listen, before even you get the impact, because we'll look at the context and, you know, a bit of history. Most of the times people say that we don't give solutions. Those of us who speak on matters. You know, let me give you solutions, very quick ones. Supposing, in his own admission, this administration has admitted that through corruption, we lose 3 billion daily. That's about 1.2 trillion shillings. Okay? Do you know that the job of a taxman is not to know how you made that money? That's not the job of a taxman. Whether they stole, whether they make through deals like these people, these Kenya Kwanza top fellows, all of them are dealers and wheelers. All of them, they are dealing and wheeling.
You cannot say all of them, though.
A majority of them. A majority of them are wheeler dealers. So, listen to my point, Jed.
Okay.
My point being that it's not the job of a taxman. If a taxman is not allowed to do their job, it is not there for them to know how you made your money. You can make your money above the waist or below the waist. The job of a taxman is to collect taxes. So supposing, they are saying they have a shortfall of 300-something billion.
Yes.
Supposing that taxman did their job and they came to you and said, Jed, we have seen a change in lifestyle. You used to put on a watch. I'm not saying yours is cheap. I don't even have one. But I can't afford. We used to see you put on and this is expensive watch, of 100,000 shillings, 200,000 bob. But you've moved to 10 million. You must be doing very well. Can we just start by taxing you? So audit of your lifestyle. So if just they allow the taxman to do their job and not protect the looters and thieves, the taxman from that 1.2 trillion that will lose through corruption, they are taken behind the tent. They are told, give me your kaiseri. Give me my 30%. You probably collect half, because half they are put in buildings, they have bought their girlfriend's motor vehicles and not have you. Say, okay, fine, that's okay. You bought your girlfriend a new whatever V8 at 20 million, that's okay. But now it is time for you to do what? It is time for you to pay tax. So how much can you pay? Say, okay, from what I can pay so much. Okay, they probably collect half of what they're looking in terms of the shortfall. Now the job of a taxman is to say, Jed, you've agreed this is what you made, and I don't want to care. I don't care how you made the money. Excuse me, how do you intend to pay the balance? You enter into an agreement, and that is the arrangement. That's a taxman is like a priest. The confession ends in that small little room. Okay, that's the job of a taxman. So if the taxman was allowed to do their job, those are some of the things that should be doing. The other things about austerity measures that he has proposed, saying 30% on OPEX, which is okay, but has he himself? When you're a leader, you start from top. Don't start from bottom. This one thing where better does not come in. Better does not come in. When it comes to austerity measures, as a father, as the head of the institution, it starts with you. Now, it makes everything of this administration look like a mockery. Why? Because this same person, the president, his office consumes almost 9-10% of our total budget. One office. This same person who is talking about austerity measures has the audacity of allowing his deputy to present a total of a budget of 1.2 billion just to renovate 2 places. 1.2 billion is not pocket change. This same administration has the audacity to come with first, second lady, and other ladies who should be staying at home to take care of families, spending 2 billion of taxpayers' money. This is the same administration that has no shame, an administration of looters, that is proposing during very hard economic times to procure a new jet for the president. Yet our jet is only 30 years old. The jet that is Air Force One, the most powerful nation on earth, is more than 35 years old. They are still using it. Now, this is the same administration of looters, and cabals and cartels that is proposing to allocate a secret, that secret account, the DP, 800 million. 800 million. This is the same administration that is proposing to allocate 250 million for medals during hard times. Now, in fact, if there's one account that we must raid, it is that secret account. If one guy, a deputy president, is asking for 800 million, how much is President Ruto consuming that secret account? This is money used to bribe, that is being dished out to bribe our members of parliament to pass bills that are not favorable to this country. How much is Ruto being allocated? How much is NIS being allocated? What do they spend doing it on? How much is the police being allocated? How much is Kithure Kindiki? How much are they being allocated? Can we now, for the sake of transparency, start auditing those accounts? So we are not saying that collecting taxes is a bad thing, because government has no other form of financing its budget other than through taxes. But what we are saying is that you must look at the thing in a more holistic manner. Finally, on that matter, it is extremely in bad taste when the president issues threats. Because the threat, when he says we are doing 14%, and by end of my term, I'll move it to 22%. I will move it to 22%. I will move it. Kenya is not a private enterprise, for heaven's sake. Kenya is Kenya. Kenya belongs to 57 million people. Tell us, please, together, can we bear the pain for this time? If I move from 14%, this is what I'll give you. Show us what you intend to do with the taxes, other than the looting that is going on, for heaven's sake.
I'm looking at the impact, because we're looking at VAT on bread, even though the president has said there's a conversation about the president wanting this VAT to be removed. We're looking at motor vehicle tax, 2.5% every year. That is between 15,000 to 100,000. Anything above 100,000 will be put at 100,000 Kenya shillings. And looking at the impact of this finance bill on a household and on the economy in general, do you think this is something that will hurt this country, or tutaendelea kusurvive as we have been?
I don't know whether you are surviving. Most people are at the verge of collapse and dying. So if you are surviving, count yourself as lucky. The only Kenyans who are surviving are people who are close to President William Ruto, his cabinet and top brass civil servants. They are the only guys who are surviving, and they are cronies, and they are less than 0.001%. The rest of the Kenyans are at the verge of collapsing and dying. In fact, the ones who are lucky are in high dependency unit. The others are already in ICU, and others are dead. So what is the impact? Of course, you see, this is the only country that proposes to tax on consumption. Because you see, consumption also, when people consume, you collect taxes indirectly. You collect a lot of taxes. Petrol is over 50% tax. Most of the food items over 20-30% tax. So you're already collecting. So when you deny people disposable income, you deny them, it is like trying to milk a dead cow. You will get nothing. So you have asked about the impact. That is one. There will be decreased consumption of goods. If there are decreased consumption, and also alternatives. They are talking about Kangumu, the deputy president. People not even be able to, forget about Kangumu, people not be able to consume even bread. And people don't consume bread because, it's only affordable food item that is left. That's why people go for bread, and you buy bread for the family for about 100 bob, 120 bob, 150 bob, and that's a meal for the day. In fact, you don't consume it early because your hunger pangs will start biting you. So you consume it late in the night so that it carries you through the following day. So what does low looking for alternatives and low consumption mean? Less revenue to the government. That will slow down the economic growth. Okay, there'll be a decline in the economy. A country prospers because of savings. Now, when your citizens don't even have money to eat, to put food on the table, will they have savings? Does Ruto want to run a country where people don't save anything? It is more dangerous. He talked about, when he was addressing the Harvard students, he talked about he doesn't want to preside over a country that is bankrupt and in debt distress. There are many ways of avoiding that, especially when it comes to taking austerity measures and taking measures that stop heavy wastages and using taxes. So it is not just about overtaxing people, but there are other measures that you can deploy. Of course, then you stand the risk of your shilling being devalued. You see, do you think investors will come and invest in an economy where they are not sure about the tax regime? You heard yesterday Ambassador Whitman saying that taxes in the US are very advanced nation. They are stable. At least if you go there, 4 5 7 years, you know that this will be the tax level. So there's predictability. You can predict that, if I'm doing business in this economy, these are likely to be my profits.
Yes.
But here you have a president who's saying, you're at 14, William Ruto, the God of Kenya, will make sure that I push you to 22%. Mupende musipende. This Kenya, I repeat, Kenya is not a private enterprise. Okay? This country called Kenya belongs to 57 million. And if you must do anything in terms of tax, in terms of something that will affect people either positively or negatively, you must consult. In fact, we are being led by a president who lacks emotional intelligence. I heard him speak yesterday, and I really felt sorry for Kenyans. He said, I don't care what people think about me. I don't really care. You must care about what people think about you. You must really care. Because they voted you in knowing that you share the same aspirations, that you care for them. And that's why they put you in office. But when you get to office and you say you don't give a shit, you don't care, I think I must tell him very categorically, the time will come, and it's already coming. They're also saying, you know what? If you show us your middle finger, we will actually put it where it belongs.
And that is where I'm going with the middle finger, but that wasn't my question. Kalonzo Musyoka comes and says that urging MPs to reject this finance bill, saying that they are ready for street protests. How effective, though, would it be? Because in 2023, we saw this bill passing without, and we had maandamano, and then things came and went. And now we are in 2024. Should we go there again? And how effective will they be if we still had to pass the finance bill of 2023 despite the maandamanos?
You see, I've said before that we don't have a parliament. I'm sorry to say that. We don't have a parliament. Parliament is an appendage of the executive. Actually, there are so many stooges in parliament. So they don't think for themselves. I've heard so many members of parliament saying that they will not even read the bill, proposed bill, that they will just pass it, so long as they are God. One William Samoei Ruto said, pass the bill as it is. They will not read. They will not even remove a full stop. That is stupidity of the highest level. In fact, it is contempt to the people of Kenya. And Kenyans must watch very carefully. But even before we get there, this bill this time round, now that people have seen the pain that you can go through with a ridiculous bill like the finance bill of 2023, okay? Now that they've gone through that pain, this proposal, if passed as it is, it will inflict heavier pain to the people of Kenya. Therefore, it is upon them, not even parliament, they must participate in the so-called public participation. And if this administration does not take the views of Kenyans very seriously, it is time for civil disobedience. People must disobey this government. If they don't take their views, the views that the Wananchi are presenting, the memorandums that Wananchi will present, the few members of parliament who have not been bought with small silver, if they don't listen to the views of majority, I think it's time to call for civil disobedience. It is allowed. As a matter of fact, Papa Roma said, I told you, I read his statement.
Yes.
He said, it's time for civil disobedience. Why do they think that we can't do it now? If they propose that we carry out civil disobedience that time, in September 2021.
Will it be effective in changing the proposals that have been
It will
made?
stop. And I can tell you, civil disobedience has stopped many governments. Forget about the finance bill. It can bring this government to a halt. You know, when a man cannot feed a family, when a man cannot provide shelter for the family, you have degraded that person. That person has no business obeying you. So, that is the direction you're moving. Yeah? And if they think that they can continue inflicting pain on the people of Kenya without caring, we have no business caring for them. We have no business at all.
Then talk to me about the implications on President William Ruto's administration in terms of popularity and public perception. Do people really care about things like economy when it comes to voting, say in 2027? Because he says we'll take it to 22%. Will this affect him in any way? Do people think about the cost of living when they go to the ballot box?
Well, you know, it has never been this bad. And you ask him about popularity. I mean, there are so many surveys which have been carried out. The man is unpopular. So what popularity are you talking about? He's unpopular. And if the intelligence... Yesterday I heard him say, when he was talking to Harvard students, he said that, you know, a year ago, you know, I've explained to people, I'm more explaining to make... And this time, at least the people I'm talking to, I don't know which people he's talking to. The people I talk to, I don't know about you, but the people I'm talking to are saying they have the vote. They are waiting for him at the ballot. They will definitely vote him out plus the entire parliament. In fact, this time round, there's going to be a record. We have been having about 60-70% of people being sent home. This time, I'm seeing 90% being sent home. 90%. So don't talk about popularity. The man is already unpopular. Not because of anything, because of his policies. Bad policies. Failing to be empathetic to the people. You know, talking so loosely and arrogantly to the people who have employed you. These are your employers. There is no way you can be arrogant to your employer. It doesn't happen that way. The Kenyans have employed you. They pay you to do a job. Okay, they have told you what they want. You must respond to their needs. You can't say, you know, it's lack of emotional intelligence. You can't say, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care. If you don't care, show us the middle finger, we'll place it where it should be.
Talk to me then about this conversation on sin tax, People are talking about alcohol, cigarettes. The conversation is about the taxes being increased because they want the public to be healthy. They want the public to be sober. And then you look at the ramification when it comes to collection of revenue. How do you balance that, Kisia? Because this government is all about a sober nation.
You see, I don't know about sober. I don't know your definition about sober, Jed. You know, you're also sometimes very interesting. And you're talking about
it's
sober.
a sober nation.
Listen, my brother, you can decide to be sober above the belt, and you can also be very unsober below the belt. It's a matter of choice. Okay? So, so don't, taxes must just be fair. They must just be fair. Because how somebody lives is their business. Because when you are punishing people who are busy above the belt, you know, people smoking and drinking and doing all manner of things, don't forget, I can tell you, if today you close breweries, if today you closed the cigarette companies, the economy will collapse. It will definitely collapse. So don't call it a sin tax.
Sin tax.
There can also be a sin tax below the belt. Yes, there are many sin taxes.
We look for those people.
So don't talk about, you know, taxes, tax administration and taxation should just be fair. In fact, these people should go to court. If that's their thinking. Yeah, because I think Finance Act is what, chapter 12 or whatever? Go and read it. It talks about being fair, just unequitable, fair, unequitable. You cannot tax one group heavily because of their lifestyle. It must just be fair. You know, this Robin Hood mentality, where you want to tax and overtax the poor to give the rich, or vice versa. Or you want to overtax the rich, overtax to give the... It doesn't work. Tax administration should just be fair. In fact, what they should be encouraging is tax efficiency. Just be efficient in your tax collection. That is it.
And will we get to that place where we collect the revenue that is much needed? We have a deficit of 300 and something from our last financial year. This time around, we want to boost the collection, and we're looking at the informal economy. This is what was happening with avocado farmers, thinking, how will we get this tax? What strategies can you advise
You see,
the Kenya Revenue Authority?
Kenya Revenue Authority, and my uncle, Edgar Ivan Manasseh, is the Commissioner General, creator of KRA. He is the one who created KRA. Actually, he's also one who came up with the PIN. So, and I keep on consulting him, and I can tell you, his thinking is very different from how these people think. So, if there's somebody who created that institution, he had a vision for it, why can't you go and quote? But anyway, having said that, you know, there are taxation is a specialized area. You can't pick people from all over, your cronies, people from your tribe, to come and head an institution. Taxation, as I said, is specialized. You need specialized training. And I know that KRA still has a few. Of course, some of them are retired. In civilized places, you call them back and say, okay, can you give us advice? Not the advice fellows that we have in State House and other places who have balloons above their belt. You see, it's about people who can add value. Okay? So what has happened to the people who were trained in taxes? They should go back to them. They will help them, you know, understand how the foundations were laid. And you see, if you look at our tax system, we actually is derived from the British, because British they were our colonizers. So that's where we draw our tax administrative arrangements from. So, and UK is very good at tax intelligence and what do you call okay, that's the UK. But then you have Netherlands, where this pin came from. Why can't you send officers to Netherlands? Why can't you send officers to the UK to learn, train them, and then the US. You know, US, because of the number of people they have in terms of, the customer base in terms of tax, is huge. So you can learn something from the US in terms of automation. So you need a combination of all these three. And the only way is to get people to go to those places, be trained, to get people who were trained and have retired to come and help you. Don't, for heaven's sake, give people who have no clue on tax matters to to try and improve the tax law. Then, of course, the other thing is, again, it falls under tax administration. I know before, KRA had what they call rapid. You want a rapid result. So they send you your tax return. They send you. And then you do your own self-assessment. And then you return. Okay? Then they quickly check as to whether the corporations have done what? Have declared the proper tax. If not, then they go to the second step, where it is now full examination of tax. Okay? Finally, I think what we can also do to improve on efficacy of our tax administration and tax collection, I think it is time President Ruto, because he seems to really be eager to collect taxes. And I agree with him. There's no way it cannot run this economy with his money. Ed is a wealthy man, but it's a drop in the ocean. There's a need to form a tax force, or people who are there before, people who are properly trained in tax management or tax administration, to come and examine the current system and to provide us with solutions going forward.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to that conversation with Philip Kisia. It's about Finance Bill 2024. What needs to be done? What needs to be changed? What MPs need to do? Kisia says it's castrated. Parliament cannot do anything to change the situation that we have in this country. What do you think about this bill? Leave a comment down below before we wrap up. Kisia, final word.
Well, to my good friend, President William Ruto, I personally want to succeed. Kenyans want you to succeed, because if we succeed, we grow together. If we fail, like the direction you're taking us, we shall fail and we fall together. We want to succeed, we'll remain with you. But if you're taking us to the ditch, we shall leave you alone. Remember, history is there for us to see or to remember. 1775, Flood Revolution brought down the French government. Not too long ago, Omar Bashir was brought down, was removed from State House. I don't know that he was crying like the other fellow from West Africa, but he was removed, not by bullets, not by guns, by millions of Sudanese. They removed him. They got rid of him. We have experiences in Tunisia, Algeria, Bangladesh, where food has brought down regimes. Kenya is not an exception. My friend, William Samoei Ruto, be careful. Be careful.
Tread carefully, President Ruto. That is Kisia's final message today. Thank you for tuning into this conversation. Share this video with as many people as possible so that we reach this government when it comes to making policy and making political moves. Until we talk again, have yourself a lovely rest of your day.
What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? This is not his personal house, this is not Sogoi. I think the president needs to stop being simplistic.
Is there a vacuum post-Raila?
Play one clip where Ruto has spoken truthfully.